All right, so we're moving on to our next unit, and we're going to be talking about angles and different types of angles and some different relationships between angles. And to get us started, we've used a little bit of terminology and some notations and things. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video and see what you remember with some of this notation and labeling in the opener here, and then flip the video back on, and we'll see how much you do remember. All right, so when we look at the first figure, hopefully you said that this was a plane. All right, and one way we can name a plane is with a single lowercase letter, right? We said we could also label it with 3 non-collinear points, but since we don't have any of those in the plane, all right, we would just go with that lowercase letter. All right, so this is a line segment. All right, and we say we use 2 capital letters and we draw the segment over the top. All right, this is a point, and we use 1 capital letter. All right, so point D. Now, we may or may not have mentioned this as much, but this is what we call a ray. Now, we name a ray, all right, in a very similar fashion to what it looks like up here. All right, is we draw this little symbol with an arrow, all right, going through F. Now, what that indicates is that it starts at E and it continues through F and goes on forever. So we would draw the ray symbol like that. Now, if it was reversed, if we had it going the other direction, it would mean it would start at F and goes through E. So the direction of your ray here on top does have significance. All right, and then hopefully you said that this was a line, and we're going to use that lowercase letter G there. All right, or we could have 2 points on that line. So if I had 2 points, you know, Y and Z, we could do Y and Z, and we could put the line symbol over the top. So we have 3 different, all right, notations, all right, to label those, all right, as we go through. And I think I put this here, and I should have said ray, and I should have put this down here. So kind of put it in the wrong box, but you guys get what's going on here. All right, so now, all right, let's go through once again some more definitions just to make sure we're good here. All right, so angle, all right, angle, all right, is, all right, 2 rays that share the same endpoint. All right, so we have something like this. So we say that let's say that that's A, and we might have B up here. We might have C right there. So 2 rays that share, all right, the same endpoint. And what we use, all right, is the angle symbol is like that. And we might say this angle BAC. Now what's important is that when we use 3 letters, the vertex is always the middle letter. All right, and then we have angle CAB like that. All right, if this is only one particular angle, all right, we can just use the vertex. All right, now if we have lots of angles that share this vertex, then we have to use 3 letters, and we'll get a little bit more into that. The other thing is that sometimes you will see numbers, right? So we might refer to this as angle 1. So those are really the 3 different ways, all right, we name, all right, an angle. All right, now acute angle, an acute angle is an angle with a measure between, all right, 0 degrees and 90 degrees. All right. Okay, so if we think about it, we know that a 90-degree angle is like this, correct? So, you know, so this appears to be an acute angle, all right, from here to here, all right, less than 90, between 0. Now, a right angle is an angle with a measure equal to 90. All right, and like I just drew above, right? So there's our right angle. We typically put that symbol, all right, means right angle, all right, it tells us that it's a 90-degree angle. All right, an obtuse angle is an angle with a measure between, all right, 90 degrees and 180 degrees. All right, so once again, if that's 90, all right, so if we think about that, that's kind of our indicator, right? If that's 90, then an obtuse angle, all right, is more than 90. So you can see that we go past that 90-degree mark, all right, when we have that. Okay, now a straight angle is exactly what that seems, all right, and that's actually a line, right? So a straight angle is an angle, an angle with a measure, all right, equal to 180 degrees. And that makes sense. So if we have a starting point here and I go this way, and I go this way in the same opposite direction, we get to 180 degrees. All right, and you'll see that we're going to call that, so that's going to be very important when we get something called a linear pair. All right, congruent. All right, congruent. This is when we have, all right, two angles, all right, that have the same, all right, measure are congruent. All right, two angles that have the same measure are congruent. Okay, so, all right, so think about the same, I'm going to say same shape here. All right, so like in this angle, all right, and that angle. Now, when we say congruent, we typically mark those angles. And what you're going to see is we sometimes do arc marks to show that they're congruent, right? All right, sometimes, let me draw another set of angles here. We'll do double arc marks, all right, like that. So if they have the same types of marks. And sometimes you'll see angles marked, all right, with tick marks as well. So you'll see like this, and then a little tick mark on it. What's important is that if they have the same markings, you know they are congruent. All right, so whatever the markings are, that implies that they are congruent and have the same measure. All right, so that was page 115. All right, so, all right, and I've kind of done everything on this page here, and if you want to rewrite it, you can, right? But we went through, all right, and the angles. All right, I'm not going to focus on this right now. We've gone through, all right, acute, right, obtuse, straight. Okay, so we kind of went through all of those things. All right, so, all right, okay. I'm going to go through, and I talked about this already, so congruent angles. All right, okay. Now, the other thing I'm going to say here is that I'm going to put in some notation here, all right, for congruent angles. All right, so I'm going to show, let me see, and so let's say that this is BAC here. And then let's say that this is XYZ. All right, and so let's say that we have this. Okay, all right, so we know those two angles are congruent. All right, now what we want to do is some written notation here to show that. And our congruent symbol, all right, so what I would say here is that angle BAC is congruent to angle XYZ. All right, and so this equal sign and then the little squiggly mark over sign, that's our symbol for congruency. All right, so when we say that two angles are congruent, all right, we use that symbol. All right, now the difference is when we talk about measure, so this is really talking about the shape, not a number. All right, so think about like interchangeable parts. It means I can kind of stack them right on top of each other. They're going to look exactly the same. They're going to kind of fit together. Now, when we talk about the measure, all right, so the actual number, we do this. We put the M out front, and we only say equal to. We don't put the little bar over the top, so we don't have anything over the top. All right, and so when we're thinking numbers, we use this notation. All right, when we're thinking shape, we use that notation. Okay, all right, so hopefully you'll get a hang of that as we go through this unit, all right, with the types of notation that we use. All right, but congruency, all right, and then this measure means we're talking about numbers. All right, so this is typically what we say if we don't know the number. We just know that, oh, okay, they are the same. All right, same shape there. All right, so now I'm just going to go through a couple of things really quick with you. I'm not going to do all of these, but like if we look at problem, or the practice here, when we look at problem 1, it says, use the diagram of the triangles on the right to answer the questions on the rest of this page. All right, so give as many different but correct names as possible for each angle. So let's look at DEB. Now remember, the letter in the middle denotes the vertex. All right, okay, so DEB would be that angle right there. So DEB right there, DEB. Now notice one of the ways we could do that is we could just flip D and B, right? We could say that we can go BED, same, all right, angle, right?
Now notice here, I could even say angle BEC, right? So BEC would be the same angle, correct? Because D and C are on the same ray here. All right, that go through that. Then notice there's also a number here. Okay, notice there's a number here, so I could also say this is angle 4. All right, so there's several different ways. Now, the one thing you can't do here is you can't say this is angle B. All right, or excuse me, angle E. All right, because multiple angles, all right, are here. Because if you said angle E, would it be BED? All right, could it be AEB? Right, so if there are multiple angles at that vertex, we can't use that single letter. All right, okay. Now notice here at C. C is the only angle here, right? There's only this angle, so I could say this is angle C. All right, and there would be no confusion. But if I said angle A, right, could it be EAD? Could it be DAC? Could it be EAC? So when we have multiple angles sharing the same vertex, we have to use either 3 letters or a number, all right, so that we know exactly which one we are looking at, okay? One angle, you can use that single letter. All right, so I think, all right, last thing I want to go through here, all right, okay, is problem 8 here. All right, I just want to make sure and reinforce the, all right, notation here so you guys can see this. So when I look at my picture, notice I have lots of different markings, right? And so what we know is, once again, if they have the same markings, then they are congruent. Okay, so notice on problem 8 here, it says, which angle is congruent to CBH? So when I look here, CBH would be this angle with the 2 arc marks. So if I want to know what angle is congruent to that, I have to find the other angle with the same arc marks. And notice that would be over here, and that would be DHG. So angle DHG. All right, so that's your introduction to angles. So once again, go ahead and finish the work here, check your work in the answer key, and I will see you next time.